You may not realize it, you may not want to admit it, but the things that you're watching could be directly affecting your marriage, or rather indirectly affecting your marriage. Before we continue, I do want to remind you that we have a newsletter. You want to sign up for that to get a lot of written content to your inbox that's going to be practical, or helping you to make your faith practical in everyday life and helping you to understand the Bible even more. And we do have a wives club. We have a wives club and a new wives club and a pre-marriage club. So if you're interested in learning from women who have been married a longer time, but it's not just a longer time, but also believe in biblical marriage, and you want to learn from them and get support in learning how to navigate the world of marriage, then you definitely want to be a part of our community. I remember one time being around a group of ladies, and they were talking a lot about how some things that were going on in their life, and it was just a lot of drama, a lot of she said, he said, a lot of guy stuff. And I remember just listening to them and wondering, why is my life so boring? Where do people find drama like this? Yeah, where do they find drama like this? And this area in which we were, they turned the channel and they were watching the show. And I tell you, it was so surreal. The ladies who were in real life, talking about all that was going on, when they flipped on the show that they were watching, it was as if they were a part of the show. The drama that was going on in the show, the way that the ladies were carrying themselves, the way that they were speaking, the way that they dressed, it was literally as if this group of ladies, like you just pulled them out of the television and brought them into real life, because they were so identical. And I remember in that moment thinking, are they living their lives, or how much of their lives is being influenced by what they're watching? I am not at all saying this to say that I'm immune to this. There was one time that I was watching, I got hooked on this really popular TV show, at least it was popular back then, America's Next Top Model, because hey, I know I'm never going to be a part of that world. But what I noticed was that shortly after binge watching the show for a very long time, my style and taste and things that I would have wanted to wear really began to not look like what I used to wear before. And that was something that I had to go through a really embarrassing situation. I wore this dress that was really short on a very windy day and ended up getting some catcalls. And I remember finally getting to my destination, and I called a friend and I was like, hey, can you go into my closet, grab this, and run and bring it to me where I am? Because I knew that what I was wearing was not appropriate at all. And I was wondering what led me to that point. How did I get there? And I had to reflect. As I was reflecting, I was like, I'm starting to live out the things that I'm watching. I have a whole bunch of other experiences in regards to this, and the Lord has been helping me tremendously to curb the things that I watch. And it's a day-to-day battle and victory that's being won. But when it comes to the subject of marriage, we are underestimating the role that media, that the television, things that we're watching, the impact that it's having on our marriage. And obviously it's not that, all of YouTube is evil and bad, and all of television or cable or whatever it is that you watch is bad. A lot of times it comes down to, what are you consuming, right? What's the content that you are consuming? When it comes to building a strong marriage by faith in Jesus Christ, it is not simply a matter of intentionally learning the things or intentionally gathering content watching YouTube videos like this, or listening to certain podcasts, or listening to certain tips, certain sermons on marriage, or reading marriage books and saying, okay, I'm going to apply these ABCs of a good biblical marriage. While that is important, the thing that actually plays the greatest role in the quality of our marriage is the things that we are consuming, or the things that we are being exposed to and not aware of it. Most of our adult life, well, not most, all of our adult life is many times built on our childhood. And if we don't go through the process of proper healing and surrendering to the Lord and allowing the Lord basically to reparent us in so many areas, we're going to find ourselves living out a kind of life that we saw in our childhood. So even though we were not intentional, but the things that we experience every day, the things that we heard from our parents or whoever brought us up, the things that we saw, is now we're living it out. So we're no longer kids, but how are we consuming content? Through certain TV shows, through Netflix stuff, and through things that we're watching on YouTube. And many times, if we were to sit down and think about it, you ask yourself, things that's going on in my marriage, the way that I'm communicating in my marriage, the way that I'm solving problems in my marriage, the way that I am processing difficulties and conflict and really hard things that happen, am I being influenced by the things that I'm watching? Most of the times we have been influenced by our childhood, right? So if your parents did not show you, demonstrate, put on display how to solve conflict, you're going to find yourself exhibiting the same poor behaviors that they did. If you saw them solving conflicts in a healthy way, then it's likely that you are going to exhibit that as well. So if you're watching TV shows where there's a whole lot of marriage drama going on, you may think that, oh, well, that's not real, or it's reality TV. I know that's separate from my life. I promise you, you just being aware that it's a movie or it's a drama series or it's a reality show, that does nothing to your mind, for your mind to not grab a hold of it and process it as truth. Because think about it. If you're watching, for instance, a scary movie, you know that it's fake. You know that the monsters that are there aren't real. You know that it's a lot of props. Why then is your body reacting Why are you reacting physiologically? Why is your body getting stiff? Why do you scream? Why do your palms get sweaty? The thing is, even though you consciously know that it's not real, your body cannot tell the difference. Your mind and how it's processing it cannot tell the difference. And so when you sit down in front of a TV show or a reality series that has to deal with marriage and just a lot of, I admittedly have never watched, what's the name of that show? The Bachelor, Bachelorette, any of those. Heard about it, seen the trailer. But if you could imagine watching TV shows like that, and it's like, well, it's not really going to have an effect on my life. Your mind is still processing that like reality. And you were just like your 5-year-old self. The only difference is that when you were 5, you didn't have control over what you were exposed to. But now as an adult, you do have control, and you're constantly exposing yourself to that. And you are now training yourself on how to respond to relationships, how to respond to your husband when you have conflict, how to how to deal with conflict, whether you're going to have peace in your mind or whether there's always just unsettledness and things going on in your mind. So you need to be very careful as a follower of Jesus, as it says in Philippians chapter 4, to meditate on things that are good and true and noble and right and just and pure, things that are holy, things that have a good report. You really have to ask yourself. I have to ask myself. And honestly, do you naturally want to do that? No. There are times where you feel like you just want to go brain dead or like just numb yourself and just watch something so you don't have to think, you're going to feel like that. And as the Holy Spirit continues to work on you, he's going to give you more noble feelings, but he still gives us the victory to choose to consume things that are pure and holy and Christ-like, even if we may have a drive or desire toward those things. So we have to start being very intentional about what we consume instead of having this very lax attitude toward the things that we're watching. You have to be so jealous for your mind. Think about it. The enemy is more jealous for your mind than you are about your own mind. The world is more jealous about your mind. The world is going to do, think about it. They have whole businesses and boards and committees and teams that is solely dedicated to how are we going to capture her mind? How are we going to hold her attention much longer? What are we going to constantly put in front of her? And they will gladly spend millions, if not billions, actually billions of dollars to feed your mind. And so you're going to let people who have absolutely no interest in your well-being, let alone your spiritual well-being and your eternal salvation, you're going to put your mind, I don't know what's going on with my eyes today. You're going to put your mind in their hands. You're going to let them be more intentional about what they feed your mind than you are about what you're feeding your own mind. I will implore you today, when it comes to your marriage, and obviously not just your marriage, but other parts of your life, but your marriage being the most important relationship that you will have after your relationship with the Lord, I would implore you to be very careful about the things that you're watching in regards to marriage, in regards to relationships, because it is going to affect it indirectly because it's affecting you. And the same things that you feed yourself, your mind, your heart, that is going to play out in your marriage. So the things that you're watching, are they filled with a whole bunch of marriage drama stuff? I remember one time watching Sex and the City. Yeah, Sex. I think it was the movie. I remember watching that, and it has, think about what messages are in the things that you watch, are in the movies that you watch. There was this movie that I saw on the plane, and I remember flipping through it and all the time thinking, Felicia, you don't need this in your mind. You don't need this in your mind at all. But in the movie, you had these two couples. The movie starts out by showing you two couples, and you think that they're married, all right, because they're older. And as the movie goes along, you realize that, like, the wife in the first couple is actually the wife of the guy in the second group. And anyway, they were switched, basically, that they were cheating on each other with each other's partners unknowingly. And then they had to show up to their son's, their son wanted to get married, and it turns out that their son wanted to marry the daughter of this other couple, and then they realized that they were cheating on their spouse with this other couple. And it was supposed to be a funny movie. And I remember still flipping through it, and of course ended up thinking, I did not need that garbage in my mind. It was a comedy thing, and you would watch it and think, well, it's just comedy. It's meant to just be a movie. And you would think, I would never do that. Listen, that is one of the biggest things that the enemy wants you to think. I would never do that. When we say that, we have no idea the power of the sinful nature or us when we are not surrendered to Christ. But things like that, we should never let before our eyes. Me saying this after still watching it when I knew I shouldn't have. But anyway, yeah, I really had to ask the Lord, please forgive me for feeding on junk. Because really, that's all it is. It's just junk. So, and obviously I'm not saying that after you watch a movie like that, you're going to, cheat on your spouse. But I am saying that we want to be careful of the building blocks, the bricks that we are giving our mind that builds our life. So you may need to check your subscriptions. You may need to check your playlist. You may need to really go through the things that you have been watching and making a cold, clean cut. You may not have the desire to, but God He will help you with that. He will help us with that. And it's going to be a daily walk. And it's not just about cutting out things. I think it's more so, a better way to put it is, you are making room for better things. And in order to make room for better things, you're getting rid of the old things. So it's just like furniture in your home. Like, you're not focusing on, oh, I need to get rid of this old furniture. Yeah, but it's more so, I'm getting rid of this old furniture because there's some really, really nice living room. There's a really nice living room set that I am getting. So that's how you now have to consider your mind and the things that you are feeding it. And so let us be on guard. We need to be on the defense in regards to our marriage, but we also need to be on the offense and being careful of what we're allowing into our hearts. I hope that this will encourage you. Remember, in our own power, we can't. Marriage is a very divine thing. It cannot be accomplished in human power, but there is strength in Jesus Christ.